Hello guys, Robert1 here, coming to you with my first official deck profile of the year, and there's a dog in the background right now, going crazy. Good for him. Dog's at home, great. But guys, I wanted to show you the deck profile that I'm planning on playing up my local tournaments for the next couple of weeks. Seeing as we have to wait until Master Rule 4 till I can actually go crazy with any sort of decks. Like, I've tested them, but I can't really play them officially. But I wanted to show off the deck that I'm personally going to be playing in tournaments, such as most likely regionals and locals and just all of the along those lines. And I've chosen to play Altergeist, and the main reason for this is that I personally feel like it is the best deck to kind of go against a lot of the decks in this format. Such as, like, the only deck it really has a big problem against is True Draco, but everything else the deck is pretty good against. Like, there can only be one. It does really nothing to the deck because you can just spoofing back the monster you summon, or you can Siliqueeze the monster. There can only be one. Against decks such as Sky Striker, the deck doesn't really care because if it just outgrinds them majority of the time anyway. Against Pendulum, it just uses its traps to kind of counteract the deck by compulsing, soloing the Pendulum summon along those lines as well. Orcust, honestly, just prevent the one effect of the Orcust in grave, or prevent sending an Orcust to the graveyard, and the deck's fine, and it just compulses the Dingirsu anyway, so it doesn't really matter. Like, this deck has a lot of ways to get around majority of decks, so I personally feel like it's the deck that I really want to play. Plus, it doesn't even lose to cards like Super Polymerization, which is just a really insane card this format, seeing as it does so much and can really hurt a lot of decks. So, I wanted to show off the deck profile that I have here of my Altergeist deck, and kind of just explain the reasons of some of the cards and choices that I'm playing in this format, just so you guys can understand why I chose to play this deck, and kind of why I'm, messing around with it a bit. So, yeah, it's been a while since I've officially properly played this deck, but let's get into it and show you some of the things. Now, I'm not going to go too deep into the Altergeists. They all are kind of standard, so I'm not going to go too deep into that. So, first of all, free Marionetta. She summons from grave and places an Altergeist trap from your deck onto the field. Free Meliseek. She attacks directly, sends a card to the graveyard when she deals battle damage, and when she sends the graveyard, searches an Altergeist, most likely Multifaker. 2 Siliquetus. You don't want to play more than 2. You don't want to play less than 2. She can be a very big brick in the deck, so 2 is more than enough. 1 Multifaker. 1 is more than enough in the deck, so you only really need to play 1. Best card in the deck, summons itself from hand when you activate a trap, and also summons a Altergeist when it's summoned via an Altergeist effect. And 1 Konkuri, because Konkuri is just literally one of the really good Altergeist monsters, where if your opponent attacks you, you can summon it from the hand, return it with a Siliqueeze, then if they try to attack you again, just to prevent the attack again. Plus it negates card effects, which is really good as well. So, that's the main Altergeist monsters, but for hand traps, we are also playing triple Ash Blossom, because it is the most generic hand trap in the game right now. I didn't really feel like I needed to play any more hand traps in the monster area lineup, just because the deck has a really good area with the hand traps anyway. Plus, you don't really want to be seeing a ton of monsters in hand, and Ash is probably most likely the best hand trap in the game currently. So that's the monsters. Like, you basically want to be playing this lineup of Altergeist in every Altergeist build. It's the most standard lineup, so I'm not going to go too deep into that. It's very good. For spells, though, we are playing triple Pot of Extravagance. I'm sorry for the dog, guys. I can't do anything about him. He's a good boy, but he won't. He barks when he barks, and he's probably talking to one of my family members telling him to give food. But yeah, we play 3 Pot of Extravagance. Banishing our extra deck doesn't really matter too much, so you want to be playing this at 3. It says draw 2, gets you into more trap cards, and just in general can get you to more Altergeist cards. 2 Pot of Duality. Some people say this card you shouldn't play just because it can conflict with stuff like Meliseek into a Link Karibo, so then you can go into to get to the Multifaker. But I personally like this just for the fact because it searches more trap cards. It's basically a rotor for the top 3 cards of your deck that can get you any one of those cards, and potentially another trap card, an Ash Blossom to a Meliseek to like have a way to get to that, or a spoofing that could potentially get to a Multifaker anyway. So I personally prefer to play Pot of Duality just because of that. But those are just the spells. Don't really need to play any more spells than 5. I feel like this is the perfect ratio. Like, you could be playing You could be playing 1-for-1, but I just like this ratio better. But for Trap's standard Altergeist lineup, you play 3 personal spoofing because it shuffles back an Altergeist card to search any Altergeist monster. Really wish it was Altergeist spoofing, but what am I going to do? 2 Altergeist protocol. It's literally the best Altergeist trap being there. It prevents your Altergeist from being negated while on the field, and also can negate the effect of a monster by sending an Altergeist card to the graveyard. And 1 Altergeist manifestation. You can play 2 of this, but I prefer 1 just because I feel like 2 is a bit cloggy, because on turn 1, if you don't have an Altergeist monster, it's just a brick, so I prefer to play 1 in that. Those are the Altergeist trap cards. Don't need to play anymore. You really just want to be seeing free spoofing on your turn 1, so that's why you play 3. And these are just searchable through Marionetta and recyclable through Siliquise. But yeah, those are the Altergeist traps. For standard trap cards that we do play, though, we do play 3 Infinite Impermanence. You're very unlikely to see Multi-Faker Imperm turn 1 anymore, but you want to be playing 3 Infinite Impermanence just because it is the best hand trap in the game right now, being that it can be activated at any point in time. It can... it's the only hand trap that can really be played under stuff like Azeroth, and also it's just the best hand trap out overall right now, just because it says negate monster effects, which majority of the game is just monster effect based at the moment instead of back row based, and also it doesn't really matter what your opponent has. So yeah, Infinite Impermanence is very good. It can negate a column as well, which is nice too. 3 Solemn Strike. For Solemn Strike is just very good in general, just being able to negate any monster effect. It's very good going second. It can negate the summon of any monster, and it's just really nice in that fact. 3 Solemn Judgment as well, because Solemn Judgment can just negate literally anything in the game, and when Lightning Storm comes out, you have to be playing 3 of this as well, just because it's the card that will say, oh, you have Lightning Storm? Well, I have a way to prevent you from Lightning Storming me, so this is very good. And there's also other cards you can play when Lightning Storm comes out, like Waking the Dragon and stuff, but right now, this is just really good. 2 Compulse, because it's just a very good going second card. Being able to compulse any monster on the board is very important at times. 2 Crackdown to steal any problematic monsters my opponent has, so I can just interrupt the combos. 2 Summon Limit. I'm choosing to play Summon Limit in the deck just because there are so many combo decks in the game right now, that this card literally just says, oh, you want to attempt to make a play? Well, I'm going to flip my Summon Limit, summon a Multi-Faker from hand, summon Siliquise. That play you just tried to make is now reversed because you just lost all of the cards that you just used to generate that whole play. So I just felt like this was a really good floodgate card to play in the deck, and seeing as like this deck can't play cards like there can only be 1 as well, I felt like this was just a really good card in general to play in the deck, and I feel like it will help out a lot when I'm playing in locals and stuff, especially against decks like Orcus, the Thunder Dragon combo, Pendulum. It will definitely come in handy, and I really like the fact that I play this card in the deck. And finally, for the last card, 1 Imperial Order, just for those matchups where we play against like Sky Striker, anything along those lines, spell-based decks, just a way to prevent the spell-based deck from happening. But yeah, that's the main deck. The main deck is just very, I would have to say a lot of it is basic, just because it is stuff that you would normally see in an Altergeist deck, such as the free Strike, the free Imperm, the free Judgment. But like the Crackdowns, Crackdowns and the Summon Limit, I would say are a little different, because some decks do play Crackdown, some decks don't. But I feel like the Summon Limit is something that I'm actually really enjoying through testing, and it's just something that I really like at the moment right now. But that's the main deck in general. It's a very good list, I think. Obviously, there's a lot of standardized things, but from what I've been testing, it's working out really well. But for extra deck, we do play 3 Link Karibo and 1 Solomon Great Almirage. Reason for this ratio is purely because I feel like 4 is more than enough. When you Pot of Extravagance, I really don't think that I'm ever going to banish 4 of these when I ever do it. Because literally if I banish all 4 of these, it's like, well, that's just really unlucky, but the chances of me banishing all 4 of them isn't that high, so I just don't really think that it's possible for me to banish all 3 of them, so I just choose to play all 4 of them, so I just choose to play this ratio of 4, and even if I do, it doesn't really matter half the time, because I can literally just set the Meliseek and pass, so yeah, don't really feel like that's that big a problem. 3 Altergeist Hextia, you have to be playing 3 of this card, there's no negotiating it, like this is literally just amazing in general. One Heater that plays Charmer. This is purely just because we do play Hextia, so we can make this send Hextia to grave, search an Altergeist card. But also because if we duel a fire deck or a mirror match that has Hextia in the graveyard, then this card can actually come up where we literally just make it, summon back a monster from the opponent's graveyard, and then go for a link free play that could potentially go even further. So something that I've been testing and something that I've been liking, so it works out pretty well, and I'm actually quite enjoying it. Now, you could obviously change this out for anything. You could change this for a Dingirsu, for goes with the Crackdown, or anything along those lines, but right now, this is just what I like to play, and it's what we're going with. One Nightmare Phoenix as well, because Nightmare Phoenix just says pop a back row. One Unicorn, because Phoenix into Unicorn. One Boral Sword Dragon, because Boral Sword Dragon just says potential Ode Decay. Is rarely going to make it, but it's there in case. For Super Poly targets, which I do side in the deck, I'm not really going to show a side deck right now, but you would side Super Poly in this type of deck, is one Dragostapelia, one Starving Venom, one Violet Chimera, and one Predaplant Virtuum, however you pronounce its name. Yeah, but basically, I kind of centered the extra deck on have like 4 targets for multiple different decks. So dark decks in general is this, and this, and then have a Solomon Great target, because Solomon Great could come up. So I felt like this was just a really good ratio for Super Poly targets. Like, this is good against Pendulum Magicians and Thunder Dragon. This is good against all dark decks in general. This is good against all dark decks in general if they have 3 monsters. So I was like, I wanted to have bases covered for pretty much everything, and I also wanted to have a base covered for Solomon Great, because that deck is still pretty good. So I felt like this was a good lineup for monsters in general. But guys, this extra deck was kind of just built on personal opinions and what I actually had, because if there's something I would play, it would be a Dingirsu, and I definitely would play it if I owned it. But currently I don't own it, and I don't want to buy a card that I feel like will be hit on the current ban list. So yeah, if you wanted to play Dingirsu, you could probably cart either the the free material or the heater, so the Predaplant or the free material heater or the heater, because like these two are the least important in your extra deck, and you could cut these for anything. Like I could cut this for an Avramax, but I feel like Avramax is just too situational in this deck because there's rarely any times you'll be able to make it. You could cut this because it's a card that yes can be coming up quite a bit with Super Poly, but there's chances of making it aren't that high either. So I felt like that's just something I wanted to mention as well. But guys, that's the deck profile. I honestly have been debating constantly what I want to play in the game, about how I want to play the game, what I want to play in the game, and I feel like Altergeist is just the deck that I would personally play right now, just because it's a deck that I like. It's a combo style that it's a deck style that I'm very familiar with. It's something that I enjoy. I know the deck is good, and it's something I can pilot very well. So it's just something that I wanted to personally play. But guys, if you have got a deck that you have chosen to play until the new Master Rule 2020, tell me that in the comment section below. If you enjoyed this Altergeist deck profile, tell me in the comment section below. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Check out the team Facebook page. We upload all of our team achievements there and some deck profiles from events. So hopefully you will check that out. And yeah, guys, Robert Bat1 signing out. I hope you enjoyed the deck profile. Later, all.